What is up, and welcome back to another Wireless Family podcast. We are joined live by the one and only roast master himself, Izaak. How are you, mate?
Good stuff, mate.
Good, thank you. It is good to have you on. This is the first time I've done a live podcast, so I know you're a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
It's all good. We'll ease into it nice and gently. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start off nice and easy, mate. I'll make sure the stream's still running. It is. That's a good start. Right, so we've got a few topics that we're going to go into today. Normally I wouldn't be this scuffed, but we're going to run it up there. Scuff stream. Alright, so today we're going to start the conversation around mental health. It's something we're both very passionate about, something we've both had a fair bit of experience in the mental health sector with. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to try and create a bit of a platform for change and for openness and the availability of people to speak openly and create a community where people feel open and free to be able to speak their mind and share their experiences and create a network where people can bounce off one another. Izaak, we'll start with the basics. So do you want to go through your sort of your mental health struggles, your demons, what you're feeling at the moment, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm probably one of those people that say to everyone, don't be ashamed, talk up and that. But I'll probably be people that kind of feel ashamed to talk about it, even though I'm heavily for speaking out and making sure that you're heard. That's something to be ashamed of. The best way to deal with those problems is talk about it, regardless if it's with friends or the multiple services that we have available to us. Probably say for the last good 4 years, 5 years, I've had mental health problems. The last few years have probably been the worst. I'll set the scene for you. 2016, vice captain, came back from the Black Lives Matter rally, photos of me around, I felt invincible. Then exams came, most year 12s, they struggle with anxiety, all that, nothing too different. Then December came, 2 weeks before Christmas, my pa died. So, that was a bit of a kick in the shin. And then just feeling absolute worse, thinking that nothing can get any worse. Then the results came in for ATAR. And looking back on it now, ATARs don't matter. But in that year that you study for, it means everything. And I'm sure many students would agree with that. So yeah, that was a good start to 2017. Lose my pa before Christmas, and the ATAR, going to uni, a new start, but still having things holding me back from it. Yeah, that was. I didn't really. Wasn't his death? Things what. Pa, who was sick for quite some time. He was. He had prostate cancer. I think at his worst, he weighed 37 kilos. So guy probably 6'1", weighing 37 kilos, and typical stubborn male, not doing anything about his health, making everything worse. Didn't do anything. So I was prepared for him passing away, but seeing his death comes in too, it's the lead up to it, and him pass away. But the thing that I don't people realize is the funeral. And that's what got me, because that's the thing I did prepare for, and I'm pretty good with preparing things. Like I like to think myself as a pretty realistic person. I make sure that this I'm going to do, what's the best, what's the worst outcome, prepare for both of them.
Yep.
And yeah, the funeral came at me sideways.
Yeah.
And it came hard. Yeah, that was, and just pretty much kind of having doubts has gone up. You know, the age of becoming an adult, also a man from 18, people say, you know, it's the best years of your life. But it's also a questionable one, I feel like. You don't necessarily know who you are. You've done the high school change. There's a change of becoming independent person. So, you know, losing the only father figure, having questions of just manhood in a sense. Yeah, it was really hard. Yeah, that's the main one. Other ones are just having self doubt with what I want to do when I'm older. Like, am I worthy enough to be I want to be? Do I have the I don't know, just am I capable enough to do what I want to do? Still a question that's hanging on me for quite some time.
So was that doubt coming from a place of not feeling prepared enough? From sort of when you're at school, all you know is school and how that works and everything. Do you think that came from a place of doubt where all of a sudden you're not in that environment anymore and you weren't prepared for the real world coming out of school? Or was that from a different sort of place?
I think it was being blindsided in year 12 about I didn't focus on negativity. I know you shouldn't focus on negativity, but you can't. You have to take the bad in consideration when you plan something. Especially someone who, you know, realistic person myself, I should have realized that shit can go sideways, and I didn't take that in consideration. That's what got me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, coming from all of those, um, I'm well aware of what your sort of strategies to negate some of that anxiety and stress were. Do you want to share what you found comfort in, what you found worked for you in terms of trying to negate some of that stress and anxiety, and what you did to overcome that sort of stuff?
Biggest thing that helped me was getting myself out of the house. Best way I did that was go to different concerts and meeting the people. I think the greatest thing I ever did for not only myself, my mental health, but just for my future was go to a Seth Century concert. Not necessarily for Seth Century, but because I met three very important people: Blue, Martian, and Odd Socks.
Yeah.
They opened the door for tens of concerts to come, tens of different people I met in my life who changed my life, helped my life in many ways. I can't thank you guys enough for doing this. So thank you. But yeah, that was probably the best thing. Get out there, I reckon. Find something that you like. Just I know it's cliche to say it, but getting out of the house definitely helps.
Yeah. Yep.
Because the whole home is your comfort, and when you get too comfortable, that's when things work. That's when things don't progress, get further. Stay where you are.
Yeah. And big ups to Clue who we're wearing the merchandise of right now. All right, we're going to address this straight away. Thank you, Ben, for the $2 donation. Everyone who's been on this channel, you know you don't have to donate, so thank you very much, Ben, for the super chat. It is much appreciated. Let us know in the comments actually while you're there. Let me pull the comments back up. Let us know of your own sort of struggles as well. We've always spoken on this channel about wanting to create a community where everyone feels safe to express themselves, share their own emotions and their feelings and how they've got through things like that, because the best way, I'm sure Izaak will agree, to normalize what you're feeling is to make sure you don't feel like you're alone. A lot of the time you do fight your own battles, and I think it's our own human nature to feel like we need to battle them alone. But creating a network around yourself of people who are there to support you, like we have on this channel, which I'm incredibly grateful for, it just helps open your eyes to different options you can try, different things that work for other people, and just having a conversation around those sort of things can make a difference. I'm glad you didn't bring up one thing in particular that you used as a coping mechanism, because I've now got to witness it firsthand how You've turned it from a strategy into something you're just genuinely fucking amazing at. Big man, your food.
Yeah, that's another one. I think another thing when I was talking before about questioning my manliness is cooking. You know, the whole sense of sexism. You know, men don't belong in the kitchen. Cooking probably has helped me a lot. In that I don't have to care about anything. I don't have to care about anyone. Just me and my fatness. You know, make sure that everything works, especially when you cook certain recipes. You know, you have to really think about it, make sure this works. Very precise with certain things.
Yep.
You know, not just making cereal, you're making a bit more advanced stuff, and that gets your mind off certain things. And I feel like that can really help with it.
Get it out, man. Get it out. It's all good.
It's not even just tearing up, just the water. That's the thing.
Choking on the water. All right. Well, I can now vouch personally for your homemade pizza, which had us. I might touch on the pizza last because that's gonna.
Yeah, come back to that. That's gonna be a good one.
But for example, last night the roast you made. How did that rate in your mind of? Well, take us through the process of when you're cooking. Are you very much in the moment of cooking and that's all you're thinking about, or when you're cooking, does it take you to a place where you think about different sort of stuff? What's your mindset when you're cooking?
It's not as complex as other things I think about. It's more I'm a fat kid at heart. I was fat when I grew up, and it's more the fact is it's gonna taste nice. That's really what I go for. I know most food combinations work well. We had roast lamb. And it goes well with rosemary. That was the main element to the dish, besides obviously the lamb. Yeah, that's about it. Just would I like this? Could I eat it? And yeah.
Is that where you sort of? Obviously, I know now that you watch a lot of videos on YouTube and things, demonstrations and tutorials on how to cook different things. Thank you, Ben, for. Might bring it down to -2 decibels. Let me know if that's a little bit better, Ben. As I was saying, you've got the stuff like tutorials and all that you watch on YouTube. Did it start off as watching those tutorials and getting inspired, or was it sort of found yourself in the kitchen one day just throwing stuff together and seeing what you could make out of what you had?
It started off at a very young age. Like I said, I was a fat kid, so anytime my nan, pa, or mum was in the kitchen, would definitely help. Yeah. Mainly just for those extra bits of food before dinner. But then as a kid, you get curious about certain things, so you're curious of how they make it.
Still on food, are we?
Yeah, yeah, still on food. Curious of how to make it, and so you can make it yourself, or try to hope to make it yourself as a kid. And then I think I just grew stronger for it. And obviously with the internet, definitely helped a lot more. Cooking shows, skipping school. Sorry, mum.
Yeah.
Watching those cooking shows.
Reset, cook, and all that.
And you also get the thing of like just watching it. You always have, especially with certain shows like MasterChef, does it actually taste nice?
Yeah.
And then I'm quite a curious person in terms of how things work. I'm like, yeah, might as well make it and see if it actually does taste good, which most of them do. But yeah, fair play to them.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Now I'm going to move into the pizza because that's a beautiful segue.
Yeah.
And I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So that pizza that you made us, I think might have even been the first night of me staying with you.
Yeah. You want to just go on to you staying first?
All right. So long story short, as everyone knows, I'm now back in Melbourne. I'm no longer in Cairns. I'm very glad to be back. We have a video where Ben and I we made a video. I'm not going to give too much away because I'm still hoping to get that video out there. Knowing me, it'll probably be a few weeks and it'll be well and truly overdue and too late. But that'll give you guys a little bit of an insight into the move back. But now that I am back, obviously I spent a week with my family, which was much needed. As everyone's aware, my dad is quite unwell. He's been in surgery 3 times in the last week. He's recovering well. Fingers are crossed that he sort of just keeps on keeping on like he always has done. But it's to a point now where Mum and I have had some tough and serious conversations around what life might look like without my father and what we're going to do, that sort of stuff. But now that I'm back home, I've been around family for a little while, I still needed to have my own life and not be dragged into all that sort of stuff and not get too down and out on myself, if that makes sense. So another way of doing that was to move in with Big Man. So Sunday, I think it was.
Yeah, Sunday.
Sunday I moved in with Izaak. So it's been half a week. He hasn't kicked me out yet. I'll take that as a win.
Yeah, I think it's close.
But the first night you decided, right, I'm going to cook. I'm going to make something for you. You made something.
I did make it. What do you mean I didn't?
For me though, I'll make it feel special for myself. But
nice at home.
You made pizzas. First off, let's talk about what was on the pizza to start with.
Yeah, I did the. I feel like if you're making pizza at home, especially if you make the sauce and dough and that, you really want to taste those flavors. I want to overcrowd it, so I made a classic margherita pizza. Just the dough, sauce, mozzarella cheese, parmesan, the basil, and that was. I'll let you tell the audience how good it was, or
explain the other pizza first, because
then the other one, you got ingredients you chuck on the pizza pretty much. Everything in the kitchen, mushrooms, pineapple, which does go on pizza. At me if you want to.
Right, at Izaak Wood 23 on Twitter.
Yeah, come on then. Salami, ham, capsicum, and olives, and obviously the cheese and sauce and that.
Yep.
And that was the second one. And
all right, the only way I can describe these pizzas is you had to eat it with your eyes closed because it just took you to a better place. You took a bite and it just. Orgasmic is often overused when describing food, but I'm telling you, I've never tasted a pizza like that. The crunch when you bit through the crust, it was just, it reminded me of better days. It was so good, in fact, that we almost started hallucinating. Now, what did we start hallucinating about, Izaak? What were we planning?
The thing is that the other reason that Terence did come in, besides me being a good mate, was that me and Terence, and I think we've discussed this on the channel quite a few times, is that we are going to venture in music together. That's where the conversation started.
For about 2 seconds.
Yeah. And then by the end of it, we're talking about clothing brands and how we're going to pitch certain clothes.
Yeah. So we've both always very much wanted to get into the music scene. That's something we agreed that we would do together, both get in around it. You've got a lot more nous within the music industry. You've been there, done that sort of thing. Now getting it all together and really giving a red hot crack. For me, it'll be a venture into this side of performing. So obviously I've done public speaking, I've done all my poetry, all that sort of stuff. But this will be a completely different thing for me as well. And another passion we've both always had is having our own sort of clothing line, which we also agreed would be an absolutely amazing thing to be able to do together. This is having a lot of faith in us not falling out at some point.
Yeah.
Diss track season gets views, and everyone who's watching this, who has seen you on the channel before, knows the damage you can do. Anytime we have a roast,
you're probably wondering why no one's in the comments roasting Terence right now. It's because
it's because Isaac's here right now, not in the chat. But we both we've always wanted to do those sort of things, so we decided why not put two minds together and make the best run of it we can. We're actually we're getting to the stage where we're quite close to being able to do both. I've got some people that I need to talk to, and I just saw someone pop up in the chat who's going to help me do this in terms of getting designs ready and printed onto shirts so we can actually start running them. I'll let you speak about the brand itself, the name, the concept, because it was actually your idea for all the name and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Name for our clothing brand is Kerwood. Now, for people that know us, you always where the name comes from. By the way, for those that don't, Kerwood. Kerr is Thames' last name, and Wood is obviously my last name. Like it's got a nice ring to it, of a hopefully a higher class brand name to it. We didn't want to go anything too not predictable, but too just like your typical clothing names you get, which is
Overdone.
yeah.
So when we first started talking about this, I'd already had my clothing line out for my merch,
Which you can get in the description, I think.
No, it's not, but I'll have to add it there now. Big man, that's our description at the moment.
We'll come back after the video.
We'll get that up and running. But long story short, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be releasing season 2 of my merch, which is going to be newer, better designed, better clothing, and half the price, which is the prices we're going to have for our season 2 merch is what I originally wanted to have the price for my merch as. But due to the company I was using and all those sort of things, I just couldn't do it that way. Now I'm going to be able to, which is exciting for me because it's now something that it feels like this is what I wanted in the first place. But it's also going to be a good test and demo run for when we do drop Kerwood. So we're going to use it a little bit as a testing ground of this worked, this didn't, this sort of design works.
Yep.
And that's also where we're going to get the idea for the different garments, if you like, that we release to start with. Have you got any ideas on what sort of garments you wanted to have as an early drop, as a demo drop?
I think the most common for any clothing brand would be definitely t-shirts. I think by the time we start leaving things, it might be a bit warm. I say cold, sorry. So we'll probably get the warmer clothing out. People in Australia, international shipping may come 2 years down the track.
Yeah.
I think that's the main ones. I think that's what most companies do: t-shirts and shirts.
Yeah. And along with those, again, hoodies is something that I learnt the hard way of how to do. I know my hoodies were pretty generically priced, but it's still more expensive than I wanted them to be at the start as well. Again, it's not going to be the same sort of pricing. It's going to be pretty. We're going to try and line it up as best we can to still make it an affordable, but quite nice and classy looking clothing brand. Because I'm sure everyone knows me. I've got a bit of a. How would you describe my sense of fashion?
I mean, just look at him. That should explain it.
This sort of get up. I like to venture outside the normal sort of stuff that people wear. I like to try and be creative with what I wear. I don't like to just wear the old standard stuff. And it does create some interesting looks sometimes, but I just rock it.
Yeah, interesting looks from other people.
Yeah.
But just on the clothing, the thing that we really want to focus on is quality. And hopefully, when you have the clothing out, you'll see that. We're not just gonna, buy a t-shirt and slap a logo on it. It's gonna be something that you would want to wear, and then hopefully that turns into a good clothing brand.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about say the clothing brand does well. So we've got the basic stuff like your tees, chuck a long sleeve in over winter, that sort of stuff, your hoodies. We are both very big on caps.
Yep.
We both have quite a collection of caps. Do you see a cap line coming in?
Caps would definitely in it. I think the broader answer would be hats in general.
Yep.
Because I know not everyone wears caps. I feel like
hats for festival season.
I think our end goal is not giving too much away. Is gonna be a clothing brand that's gonna rival Connor and those sort of companies. That's hopefully where we like to go. If it does, that'd be great. Doesn't, things happen.
I mean, we start reasonable.
Yeah, we got small dreams,
And then we take down Nike and
Yeah.
bring it on. So we've gone into a little bit of the future of our clothing and stuff like that. We also spoke about wanting to get back into music and the hip hop industry in general. Talk me through where you want to go with that.
Me personally, or what we're gonna do together?
We'll go personal to
Yep.
start with, and then we'll go as a collective.
Personally, just to get my thoughts out, regardless if they're positive or negative. When by negative, I mean the darker side to thoughts, like I said before, mental health. But I think the main goal is to get what I believe in terms of politics and stuff. That's the main focus at this moment. So obviously, good summer tunes on the way, but I'm not going to shy away from getting my voice heard.
Yep. Now, we spoke a little bit before about what you used as coping mechanisms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At what sort of part in your life, because you've been writing for quite some time, at what part in your life did not necessarily music, but writing become a way that you found to get some of that emotion out and really just get your thoughts down?
Exclusive here. I started writing in year 8, I think was the main one, 'cause that's when hip hop battles became a massive thing.
Yes.
Curse of 360 was the biggest one around that time. But started writing for. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a person that starts fights or fights people. So to cope with bullying that I suffered, I would go home and write a diss track against them, as if I was gonna verse them in a battle. No one's seen those. So I don't think anyone will ever see those ones because year 8 Izaak has some pretty cringeworthy 60 vote. Typical year 8. Yeah.
Well,
Less about that, the better.
I know that I started writing around the same time, but I took it in a very different way. As everyone knows, I started writing poetry rather than raps and diss tracks and stuff like that. It's very much the same thing, but it's just constructed different schemes to it. I think key takeaway I want to get across is we're both doing something that was in basic quite drastically different, constructed and put out the same way through pen and paper pretty much. And it was that sort of thing that was very, how do I put this, to write poetry as a year 8 boy was not very, it didn't make me the most popular person, I'll put it that way. Whereas writing hip hop, bars, raps, stuff like that, how was that? Did you ever have that publicly known? Was that ever something people knew about you?
I think majority of people that I've probably told in the last year. I think no one knew in year 8. Wouldn't say. Year 10 was probably I told a few people, probably one or two. Year 11, year 12, I hinted at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last few years have probably been the one where I've definitely said that still that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think going to concerts more and meeting people who actually care about you and what you think of, you're not just on talks, you've definitely helped. Me tell people, confident, lack of.
Pardon me, beautiful stream. Now, obviously, being surrounded by other artists is it's an incredible way of communicating because people understand. To put it more simply, those sort of people understand what you're saying when you write. A lot of the time, you can write something, and 100 people can interpret it 100 different ways because people put their own experiences onto what you're writing. So I can write something about one thing, and someone reading it can take it to mean a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Do you think artists in general do the same sort of thing, or do you think there's a lot more of a I can sort of deep what you're saying here, I know where this is coming from and I know what this is? And does that help you then continue to write and feel more included and like you're not alone in that sort of sense?
Yeah, I feel like the short answer is most people get where the artist is coming from. You don't necessarily have to be in a similar situation or mirror life as the artist. But I feel like with music, it's one of the very few things, regardless of the week, you understand each other. obviously, like most things, you will get the long interpretations, but that's probably not so much on the artist, more person listening.
Oh, oh, we're calling you out, people. All right. What I wanted to eventually get to was connecting where we both started with writing, where that's led us to join a venture together, and especially around, again, Isaac's good with this sort of stuff, the name of what we've come up with, stuff like that. So obviously, me as a poet, I used poetry as my voice and my vice to cope and deal with things I was going through. That quickly became something that I realized, I don't like to say I was talented at, but I understood how to get emotions through using metaphors and stuff like that. And I was lucky enough to travel Australia, performing all over Australia. It was nearly a year and a half ago now, performing at Parliament House. Was probably the absolute peak of my career, which not only did I do that, but I came back for your party that night and flew back up to Canberra again, just so I was there for your birthday party. I'll never forget that because the jet lag was amazing. I didn't think you'd get jet lag from here to Canberra, but I'm telling you, it happened.
Can't believe that. Still can't.
But that became my advice, and so when we decided to come together and collaborate, it was a little bit unknown to me on how to write as an artist rather than a poet. But I think we're starting to slowly get there.
Yeah, the ball is rolling, definitely.
It started to roll. You've read some of the stuff that I've done as an artist, not a poet. It's not great, but it's getting there. Why don't you talk a little bit about, because you're brilliant with names, what we will be called, where our vision is?
Well, we can just talk about his poetry, and I did earlier talk about me want to be a leader. So name is I forgot what it was.
You remember it, don't you?
Yeah, I said poetry first. Anyway, it's leaders of poetry is our name. We're gonna call ourselves.
So why you've gone into obviously the breakdown of why it's leaders of poetry. It's quite straightforward, really. You mentioned you want to be a leader.
Yeah.
Break it down for me.
Well, the reason that I want to get my voice out is because the end goal, more than anything in my life, I'm a leader, and the best way for me to do that is, I don't think most told me to do it, is I want to be Prime Minister. That's the end goal. That's where Isaac's career ends or starts, depending how far I get. But yeah.
Now, to people who don't understand the industry, that can be a very big leap to go from an artist to the politician of Australia. I can understand where the connection is, knowing the industry and how it works. Do you want to explain how someone can actually make that sort of jump?
I think the best example, especially in Australia, would be probably Briggs, wouldn't it? Maybe.
Yeah.
Briggs, he has the whole campaign of Briggs for PM and sends the Briggs hats.
Yep.
I think music has always been political, regardless of what year it's been and what the surrounds have been. So the jump from artist to politician, that father jump, Peter Garrett, I think it was.
Yes, Peter Garrett from Midnight Oil.
Yeah, he jumped from musician and politician. Hopefully, my career is a bit stronger and last longer than he's won in the political game.
I wasn't ready for that. So you're calling out people who listen to music and don't understand it. You're calling out Peter Garrett, a national icon. I understand some people might not like his music. I'm a big fan of Peter Garrett. More so for his music than his politics. But to be fair to him, he didn't do a terrible job in politics.
It wasn't that he didn't do a terrible job. I think it's more the fact that he was more hyped up in a sense. And I've spoken to people who were around that time, and they say that he didn't do as much as he said. Which, I mean, not much normal different now. But
that doesn't sound like a politician.
Yeah. It was a great politician in that case then.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to remember is, for anyone who doesn't understand or know who Peter Garrett is, as I said, lead singer of Midnight Oil. And if you actually listen to their songs, I actually can't think of a song that doesn't have a bit of political motivation behind it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And so are you, Ben. Or not all songs are politically motivated.
Yeah, like the first song that comes to mind when anyone says Midnight Oil is Beds Are Burning. It's a great song, but if you actually listen to the lyrics, it is incredibly political.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other songs and artists who are quite political and don't promote it as that sort of thing. Are you going to go into music writing political sort of stuff only, or is it going to be a bit of a mix, so you've got a little bit of a CV of here's some serious stuff, here's some political stuff, here's some light-hearted stuff? How do you see yourself lining up?
Like as any artist, you have to be I can't think of the word.
Versatile.
Yeah, versatile. Versatile with it, so you can't just be, one trick pony. There can't be one trick pony, so I'm gonna have obviously the summer songs as well, like any artist. The club songs, gonna have the more emotional side. But I think really whatever's on my mind, I'll put into a song one way or another, whether it be a song or write song for song.
Yeah. Now, everyone who has seen these videos and my live streams know you're incredibly good at wordplay. What are some of your favourite bars that you've written? I know you weren't prepared for this question.
Yeah, it got me.
What are some of the best bars that you've written? Not necessarily they can be for the wordplay, but also in terms of the power behind what you've actually written.
The thing is, because I'm so unprepared for this question, I'm not going to say one of my favourites. I'll say one of your favourites of mine.
That's cheating.
And that would be a fatherless figure, so called Simba. Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm pretty sure people are going to be able to deep that bar. But do you want to break it down for us, nice and simple?
If you haven't watched Lion King, first of all, what are you doing?
It's 2020. What are you doing with your life?
You've had two chances: the cartoon and live action.
Oh no, that was trash.
I didn't see it. Do you want to?
That was trash.
But in case you didn't know, spoiler alert, obviously, Simba's dad dies and becomes a fatherless kid. Yeah, big up Mufasa.
No, don't big up Mufasa.
He's the good one.
Oh yeah, it was Scar that was the dog. Yeah, all right, no, fair. Oh, it's been a while. I haven't been a kid for time now. So I'm a fatherless figure. Call me Sim. No,
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What's the mindset to come up with something like that? Do you start with the light-hearted wordplay of it, or does that come from a darker place and you try and find a connection between what you're feeling and so there are two ways you can go about writing a bar like that. There's, I want to have some wordplay. I've just watched Lion King, so it's fresh on my mind. I make wordplay that way. Or does it come from a place of, I'm feeling deep on this exact topic at the moment, because that's how a lot of the stuff we write happens, and then do you go from there to try and find a connection?
I think it's just having the feeling at the time and what does it feel like. So making the connections like most artists do.
Yeah.
The typical like as or it's like that type thing. And that's why I get most of the thing. I never really watch anything and think of a bar. Mainly because I'm too busy focusing actually watching. Yeah. So it will come back to me later, but it's not at the time type thing. Or just for my time, and how can I make a connection?
Okay, well, in saying that, I think we both agree it's quite easier to write deep and depressing bars when you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
How do you go about writing happy-go-lucky sort of bars? Because I personally do struggle with that, just because all my writing in the past has been poetry, which is coming from a deeper place. I don't have many happy poems. So how do you go about doing that when you don't have a mindset of this is how I'm feeling, this is just me getting it out?
Yeah, I think it's because there's so many different words for feeling like crap, and there's not many other words for feeling as happy. So of course, you're gonna have a lot of ways to say I'm not happy, or I'm feeling and sad or whatever. It's very hard to be different in terms of saying that you're happy, and you can say you're excited. But as like with writing, it's very easy to write different ways of feeling sad because different ways to do it. Can't really write a happy song and necessarily be different. You can in terms of lyrics and song vibe, but at the end of the day, most of them say the same. But with different like sad songs, they all have a different message.
Yeah,
and come from different places.
and personally, I think that's where a lot of this brag rap comes into it because it's trying to be a little bit different. It's a way of showing a bit of personality and personal experience that you'd normally get on a sad song and put that into a happy song. And I think that's where a lot of what we call brag rap comes from. Would you sort of agree with that? It's a way of taking the same sort of mentality that you'd get in a sad song and putting it into a happy song where normally we don't have a way of doing that.
Yeah, especially since that there are so many different ways to brag and what you feel as value you would obviously brag about. For example, I will say this and cook, I'll brag about that more than others. You'll probably brag about your fashion sense. You feel as if Right then, no then.
Look at me. I'm not going to brag about this.
Man, I want a black t-shirt.
I look like I've just walked out of an op shop.
Well, you said it.
They call me Macklemore. Alright, now, this is something that I was questioning doing, but is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we turn the table? And I think you know what I mean by table.
Not at the moment. No, I've got nothing at the moment.
No? Alright. One extremely good example of Izaak's wordplay is every time I go live and he comes on for a bit of banter. Now, you review, as I learnt today, you do actually review the footage of banter to see if you've gone in too hard or not.
Yeah, make sure I know who you feel.
How long does it take you to come up with some of the insults you have? Is it just off the cuff? Do you actually sit down and process and think about it? How do you go about doing that? Because it's a whole another kettle of fish to actually writing.
Yeah, I think the main thing is knowing who you're roasting against. Luckily, I am, well, I'd say, good friends with Terrence.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I was. So it's fairly easy to come up with material with it. It's just what angle can I take it with it, and the big question is how far I can go with it. And then that's finish my writing process. Most of them come up on the spot because Terrence will say something or pay attention to the video, and he will do something that reminds me of something about him, and we'll just go from there.
Now, we've got a few favourite topics of yours.
Yep.
Do you mind sharing with the people what those topics are? Because I want to make you feel like shit on camera now. I'm turning serve here. What are your favourite topics to roast me on, Izaak?
Probably the easiest one is...
I know where this is going.
Cocaine.
Damn!
The easiest one because there's so many jokes about cocaine. Like, everyone's made a joke about cocaine at some point in life. And since cocaine has, say, a similar path to hip hop in the sense of you got lines, you got, you know, your kingpins and all that stuff, tie up people and others. Yeah, that's the main one.
Let's just let this play out. There we go. So, I know you couldn't hear what just happened, but
I don't know what it is though.
yeah. And demonetized. That's fine. We've actually learned that we can say cocaine and not get demonetized, which I'm quite surprised by, but helps this channel. Now, I do want to. I brought that up knowing you'd say exactly what you have said. Mainly for the point of, for those who don't know, yes, I did have what I would call a problem with cocaine. I'll openly admit that. It came from the same sort of place where Izaak was talking about before, where that was just a method I found to escape.
Yeah.
Not proud of it, absolutely not, but it just sort of happened. It was probably one of the more expensive habits you can sort of have.
Definitely up there in terms of price.
So it wasn't easy. Touch me nose as I'm saying it.
You say just quit.
It's a trigger. I've been the best part of 4 months sober now, which I'm quite happy with. I'm trying to keep it that way for as long as I can. I've now got to the point where I don't crave it like I used to. I won't even think about it in my day-to-day life anymore. It won't be until someone brings it up. But I think a way of actually empowering myself to be able to overcome that was all the jokes that you had about it.
Yeah.
Because the more you joked about it, the more I realised how pathetic it was, really. So in a sad and weird sort of way, you actually helped me overcome that. I'm not going to say thank you for it.
I wouldn't accept it anyway.
But you did help me come a long way in being able to kick that habit and make it a thing of the past. The other two things that we generally talk about on stream are what are they, Isaac? We're going to plead the fifth now that he's on camera. Alright, we'll leave that there. We won't push it. Moving into the future. So, actually, what have we got coming up in a couple months?
Mate, I'm so just after you put me on the spot.
The audacity.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we've got Stormzy coming up, which I'm keen for.
So that's going to be probably, to be fair, the night of my life so far. I don't know how it's going to rate for you. But how many of us are going?
We got 4 mates going, including us 2.
So what we're going to do is going to get a hotel room in Melbourne. That way, it's just because the concert finishes late and all that sort of stuff. It's just easier to stay in Melbourne. It's going to be an absolute vibe. Yeah. It'll be the first major concert I've been to. I've been to Simple Plan, which was at the Forum.
Yeah.
And I've been to, obviously, I don't like to count my own sort of speaking because I wasn't really there to see it.
No, yeah.
But yeah, it'll be the first sort of big performance I've ever actually been to. So I'm a little bit not sure what to expect, but also extremely excited. You've been to many concerts before. What can I expect? What are you going to do for me?
I think the main thing to expect is music.
Yes, he is like this in real life, people.
I think the Stormzy is a very good performer. I think if you see any of his live shows on YouTube, the Glastonbury one was probably the best one, even though you couldn't hear anything through his earpiece. But Stormzy is a very good artist. He knows the crowd well, knows what to do and what not to do. He's very good with reacting with the crowd. The crowd's very good with reacting with him. So I think Stormzy is probably one of the best ones to see live in terms of grime or hip hop. You know.
Well, that's an interesting debate whether we call Stormzy a grime artist, a hip hop artist. He's moved into drill recently.
Yeah.
Like he's multifaceted.
Rest in peace, Farley.
This track season smells good. To be fair, Cadell did have a good. I suppose Cadell didn't really have any reason to buy in.
Yeah.
Necessarily, but I reckon Cadell did in one song better than Wiley did in 3. Moving into the UK scene, have you got a few favourite UK artists?
I think at the moment probably Stormzy. That's just because if I go to any, I like to go back to the catalogue. So I'm not that awkward person in the crowd, mumbling half the words, or I'm not saying, just because I don't like that person. Nothing against you guys to do. Yeah, so yeah, probably Stormzy. Jay Huss, his latest album was pretty good. Listening to him, as well as Pop Smoke.
Yes.
Because I'm one of those people that don't necessarily likes to listen back to people past just to see what other people are talking about. But yeah, no, he was definitely.
All right. Now we've mentioned some names from Australia. We've mentioned some names from the UK.
Yep.
You've got to line them up. Who takes the cake for you? Are you more into the UK scene? Are you more into the Oz scene as a whole? So not necessarily going into grill or dry. Grill or dry.
Don't worry, guys. Like this real life too.
I want to say it again. Drill or grime.
Say the question. Hip hop Oz will be the best one.
Okay.
Mainly because that's where I learnt like rap. That's where I've learnt light with. That's the people I've become good friends with, and I feel like I won't get that from grime. Considering that half the people that I know are more friends than artists.
Yeah. So we've already spoken about Martian, who you're good friends with, Clue, who you're good friends with, Odd Socks, who you featured in a video clip for.
Yep, we're also featuring Martian video clip.
Oh, you have too, actually. Yeah. How did I forget that? Well, that ruled it because I was going to say, what was it like being on Odd Socks' video clip? Talk about. So a lot of people see the finished product. They don't understand how much effort goes in behind the scenes. You've seen today how much effort goes into a live stream. How much effort goes into one of those video clips? Is it really choreographed? Does everyone have a certain thing to do, or does it just sort of go with it?
Well, it depends on the vibe of the song we've been singing, like most say. But the 2 film clips I've been involved with. Sorry. Pardon me. I'm just going to plate.
Now, how this works is we don't both drink at the same time.
I just want to clear my throat, and I just. Is are both party vibes, so it was fairly easy to dance.
Yep.
On the camera. The Martian run was a bit more choreographed behind that. We had to beat up Martian. In the first part of the video clip, that was making sure you're not in the way of the camera, so the camera get a good shot of Martian getting up, and just making sure that. Obviously make it believable, but don't actually bash the person up.
Yeah.
With something like Martian, it's very hard to pretend.
What are you saying? It's easy to bash up Martian?
He's fine, but I got you, Martian. I got you. But yeah, they were probably fairly easy video clips to be involved with. But I think that's because they were very good songs to video clip for. There wasn't much behind it in terms of you have to stand here, this is your role. It's more just have fun, enjoy yourself. I think that also goes down to people who goes, the artists and the people who behind the camera. First one for Odd Socks was Zach. Martian was Tom, and yeah, they make it seem more just marking around with your mates more than like or studio.
So it doesn't feel as forced. You feel like you can just sort of do you, and it's good enough. Now I want to go on to and this is why I brought up the Odd Socks shoot. Now on that video clip, you can be seen with a beer in your hand.
Oh, dude, you got
Tell me about that beer, mate. Because
so no film secret here. There was nothing in that bottle of beer.
You're a fraud.
I was empty.
Fraud.
And the worst part is you fake him taking a sip from beer. Because when you have a beer, you normally stop. You have a mouthful. There's nothing in it. You don't know when to stop. And also how high of the bottle do you pour it? So yeah, pretty sure if you look closer, you could.
You could, yep. And what more gave it away is when, say this was the bottle, I'll turn something on for the camera, you're doing. So the bottle rarely touched your lips, and you sort of, it was as if it was almost half full still.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit bait, but that doesn't matter. What we're going to do now is I want to throw it to the audience, because we've got a live viewership at the moment of 1. If anyone has any questions, drop them down in the comments before we move on. What we're going to do is we're going to turn this into the very first live roast on the channel. Because I know you have been very productive at roasting me off camera. But I want to see if you can still do this thing on stream.
Yeah.
Live. We might give the chat 2 seconds to see if they've got any questions. If not, we are going to turn this into a live roast. How do you feel about that?
Bit nervous.
Bit nervous?
Yeah.
Why are you nervous, Izaak?
Because I normally have to
Hide behind a keyboard to do this.
I normally write out the joke to make sure it makes sense. I can't do that on live.
Does Izaak think Bobby Burns is the best passer in the A-League?
Yeah, obviously the best one. Like top 10 for sure.
Number one. You have no idea who Bobby Burns is, do you?
No, that is.
Nah. I didn't think you would. There's a bit of banter between myself, Josh, and Ben. That Bobby Burns is the best passer in the league. That was much to the fury of Josh to start with, but he's jumped on the meme now.
Yeah.
So, Josh, Ben, if you have any more questions for Izaak about anything we've spoken about today or about anything in general, let me know. A little behind the curtain sneak peek is I'm about to also film a video with Ben. It'll be another podcast. So if you have any topics you want Ben and I to talk about as well, please drop them in the comments as well. I've always wanted a community around the channel to have a say in what we do. So now's a good time for you guys to be able to influence the podcast that you'll hear next week.
Yeah.
Because now that I'm back, I'm doing more regular uploads.
Hold him accountable for that. Make sure he does.
I mean, it's really hard to beat one every 6 months.
Yeah, he's really good with this.
I'm consistent. It's once a year that I'll upload.
Yep.
Alright. How do I influence my own interview? Oh, you just tell me some... It's not aimed at you, Ben. Not everything's about you and your big head. Now, I'm getting the scene ready.
Yeah.
Alright, what we're going to do is... I'm going to get the hater blockers on. Big man. Let's see what you can do. I'm giving you a few options here. So you've already looked me up and down trying to think of some stuff.
The thing is though, I've got nothing because normally when I have these voices, you talk about things and then I have topic to talk about.
Alright. Let's see how good Izaak is at writing live then. Chat, I want you to give him a topic to roast me on. We'll start with the 5 head because it's already in the chat. Have you got anything about my 5 head?
If I have to say anything, I'm bad as it is.
You can do better than that. Oh, thank you, Ben, for allowing that comment. I was about to delete it. So Josh asked, how do I get 1K of Brazilian men to subscribe to my channel? And
Make an OnlyFans account. that help or?
Hey, don't look at me like I know about OnlyFans, big man. I don't have an OnlyFans account.
Where do you get the what from?
Damn! It's not from an OnlyFans account. And Josh, I don't have 1K subs that are all Brazilian men. There are some Brazilian females on there. I'll give it to them. The men were more eager on Instagram. That didn't stop the girls either. I would have gone with a nude Snapchat account. No, Ben, that's how. Nude Snapchat accounts, that's dead now. It's OnlyFans is where it's at.
Do you want to make money or not, Ben?
Like, awful for Ben's OnlyFans account.
I'll sign up.
If this video gets
10k likes.
If this video gets 200 views and at least 10 likes, I'll open an OnlyFans account. No, I'm not. I'm not doing that. Alright. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Want to talk about your mental health again?
Scuff stream. So we've talked a little bit about ramming my knee into the table. So Izaak, you've talked about what your battle was, the stuff that you went through, and how you coped. I'll share my sort of experiences now. So it was very much through the same sort of time frame as yourself. So it was started from probably about 14, 15 years old. I think everyone at that age starts to have mental health problems, not knowing there's so many changes with your body, your life, everything that you just sort of lose track of who you are. It's easy to slip into a what's going on, I'm not ready for this, and panic sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it all started from there. Growing up, I'm going to get onto this comment before we keep going because that's too good. Izaak, do you think if we gave you 2 hours in Adelaide, you could beat Tez in Tinder?
Without the afro. No, with the afro. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big claim.
Wait, bit mate, that's your...
So, I don't want to say it on camera because... Well, I'll say it again. Alright, Josh or Ben, if you guys want to remind Izaak of what my record was in Adelaide, what the total was, and what it was before we got off the plane, because I don't feel comfortable saying that on stream.
And give me 8 months, and I'll do it. 8 months to go back to flow.
So, dear. I don't want to say it. I'll leave it up to you guys to say. If you guys say it, then that's all good. But if not, I'm really not saying it. So basically, how are we going to chat about mental health after that? Oh, shit. Oh, I'm in trouble now. Close to...
I'm vibing over here.
To be fair, that was the number before we got off the plane. It ended up just over 1k. I did turn down a couple, only because when you're getting that many matches in that short of time, you're guaranteed to find a bush pig or two.
Yeah.
Alright, long story short, I was with someone at the time. I let them know that this was happening, but I didn't feel comfortable going on any dates with anyone for that sole reason. I was with someone, and although I asked and it was all good for me to do it for a dare, I want to make this clear, it was for a dare. Like, big man. I just didn't feel comfortable doing that sort of thing, even though it was all good and it was for the banter and for a dare. I just couldn't do it. Yes, Josh, I do have, and I'm calling you your name on stream because I know you hate it. I do have standards, so thank you.
2 drinks minimum.
Woo! I'm roasting myself more than you did.
Tell me the topic and I'm good.
Oh shit! All right. Back to mental health. Bad chicks. Oh.
I'm talking about that one.
I wanted to make a joke, but I won't.
Yeah, so your childhood mental health started what, 14, 15?
Let's just get this one out of the way. This can't be true.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Oh, that's so good.
Okay. So, what can I say to that? Thank you, Ben, for making me an OnlyFans account.
Like I said, guys, want to donate? Link in the description for OnlyFans.
Ben, while you're modding, if you can please put my OnlyFans account that I now have in the link in the description down below. Let's see if this actually. Ben. Why did we start talking about OnlyFans? Why did this happen? I don't need an OnlyFans account. I do not need Brazilians realizing I've got an OnlyFans account. Oh no, there's money, bro. Can't believe. I can't believe you've done this. All right, back on track. No more OnlyFans talk. No more Tinder chat. Mental health, serious then. All right, so my battle with mental health properly started around 15. At the time, I was playing sport, getting towards quite a professional state. So I was playing what they call sort of like state league Aussie rules football. So I was with a TAC Cup squad, starting to get quite serious. It was constant training, dieting right, all that sort of stuff at that age where I wasn't a fat kid, but I enjoyed my food.
Yeah.
I was a little bit overweight. At the same time, I was playing Premier Cricket, which is again state level cricket. I wasn't playing top grade or anything, but I was in the ranks there, which means all year round I was playing really serious sport. My body never got a rest, my mind never got a rest, and that was happening from the age I was 9 or 8. Sorry, I started playing sport all year round up until 17 or 18, and I think that mixed with school, mixed with everything else going on in my life, not having a very strong family home, it all sort of just started to add up. That's where I sort of started to write poetry. I don't want to go too much into why my family life wasn't great. Everyone who knows me sort of knows a little bit about what was going on there. Ben, thank you very much, has put my OnlyFans in the description. So I'm sure people have heard me on the channel say Ben was like the father I never had. I think that sums up sort of what it needs to be said. Quite abusive, alcoholic, that sort of stuff. In the end, karma has got him because the alcoholism has now put him where he is, which it's bittersweet irony. Yeah. Still very hard to go through, but bittersweet irony is the best way to put it. Around 16 is when I first started going to Headspace, which is where I first got involved in the youth mental health sector, because from Headspace I found the youth reference group, which was a volunteer group that met there once a week, talked about shit, organised fundraising and events for the local community, all that sort of stuff. And I got to meet some really amazing people through that. And long story short, that's actually how I started writing poetry, was for one of the guys in the youth reference group who was doing it really tough one night. And so I just sort of, I wanted to be there for him and I didn't know how, so I just started writing, and it ended, I didn't realise it then, but it was my first ever poem. And it sort of helped pull him through that night, and from there I sort of realised, you know, words can really help people. So that's where I started writing poetry. It very quickly became poetry was my way of getting my thoughts and feelings down on paper and not having to internalise them. I was lucky enough to, within maybe 6 months of starting writing, to then be able to do my first live performance, which was incredible. But from that first night, I realised that I had a way of helping people, and from a pretty early age, you know me from maybe 5 or 6 years, not long before, or not long after all this sort of started, I've always had that thing of wanting to help people.
Yeah.
And so once I realised that I could do that, I decided that I wanted to try and help as many people as possible. So I'd write as many poems as possible to be performed. The reason I wanted to perform was not for me to have my name up on a stage or me be the centre of attention. It was because when you write something and share it, one person can say it in 50. Pardon me, I'm choking up. One person can say it and 50 people could say it. Whereas when you're performing, you've got a live reaction of every single person there, connecting with what you're saying, actually listening to what it is and it's a really unique feeling of being able to see so many people in a room all listening to what you're saying, and you can see the different faces and different reactions of which bits people sort of connected with the most, and that's how I sort of learned what topics to write about and how to write. Is getting that instant feedback of this one really worked and this one helped people feel what I wanted them to feel. So I need to try and write in that sort of way. And yeah, very quickly, my best way of helping myself was to just help as many people as possible. People who know me from school would have a very different opinion on me. People who know me now. School, I was an absolute prick. I was the ADHD kid who couldn't sit still, who was disruptive in class. And looking back on it, yeah, I would have hated to be in my own classroom. The reason I was like that is because I now realize I need to challenge myself. If I'm not challenged, I'm not engaged. And if I'm not engaged, I just entertain myself. And the way I did that was generally by just making a prick of myself. I didn't do it intentionally to piss people off. I just did it because I was bored. Bad as that sounds. So that's also where then the autism comes in, because I was doing stuff that was too easy. I disengaged and did the same sort of thing. That's where finishing off a diploma, having 4 or 5 certificates to my name, all that before I'd finished high school, really helped me because I was able to do something that actually challenged me and I actually had to put some effort into. And to be able to have all that behind me before leaving high school was a real sense of I'm not like that anymore. I'm not what people think I am. That's when I opened my eyes and went, I'm a better person than what everyone thinks I am. I just didn't know how to not control myself, but how to stream my energy into something, if that makes sense. And I've gone very much off the topic of mental health here. But it all sort of builds into one.
I want to ask you a question though, and I think the question is similar to me. Of, do you feel as if helping other people first has put your mental health on the back burner?
That's an interesting question, because personally, when I help other people, I feel a sense of right word. Helping others makes me feel better. And so to be able to help a lot of other people does help me feel good about myself in the short term. Long term, absolutely it does. It makes you don't realize it's happening, but it does put your own mental health on the back burner. And it is, when you're trying to help people, it becomes very overwhelming sometimes because you've got all this stuff on you all of a sudden and you're not thinking about yourself, which means you're not improving yourself. And so it can be quite dangerous to help a heap of people at the same time, because then you're not actually looking on the inside and doing what you need to do at the same time.
Ever think back and think, I should have been selfish, own health forward? Or do you still gladly discount things?
I'd never take back any of the help I've ever given anyone. I wouldn't go so far as to say I wish I was a little bit more selfish and thought about myself. I wish I took the time to understand myself better as a person. Because at the end of the day, to improve my own mental health, I didn't need to get over what I was going through. I needed to understand why I was going through it. And I think a lot of people make that same mistake of they're not feeling well, so they just want to feel better. So they just do things that'll make them feel better. Whereas if you understand why you're feeling that way, you can, one, help yourself feel better at the time, but negate it happening again, if that makes sense. So if I did have my time again, I'd take that extra, little bit to understand, okay, I'm autistic, so I don't match what normal people do, and I don't feel the same way in certain situations as normal people do. And so I wouldn't let that scare me and make me feel like I wasn't normal. I'd just take that on and understand myself properly first, and then go in.
What you're essentially saying is you wish you about yourself.
Yeah.
during tough times.
Yep. And I sort of got the same sort of feeling with yourself, where especially coming into, as you said, year 12, where ATAR is just your everything.
Yep.
But at the same time, that is the most important time of your life, because you're going from so much structure, and this is just your life for 13 years, going into the real world where nothing is the same. That's where you learn the most about yourself, but you're never given a chance to actually explore yourself until you get out of school. And personally, I think by then, like,
Yeah.
you need to have an understanding of who you are and what you like and where you want to go before you get out of school, because otherwise the first 3 or 4 years out of school, you're trying to do all that while balancing a job and trying to figure everything else out, and it's just chaotic, and you lose a good 3 or 4 years of your life.
How would you change society to change that, in the sense of like making people learn more about themselves before they get chucked in the deep? Would it be at school? Would it be at home? A school program?
I don't necessarily think there's much you could change about the school to help in that aspect. I
Yep.
think, as cliche as it is, it takes a little bit of soul searching to find that stuff out about yourself, and we need. I'm not sure if there's any extracurricular that could help you understand that, because each person finds out about
Yep.
themselves a lot differently. But having guidance outside of school to do that, I suppose it's where parents come into play, because they're the ones who obviously help you, and a good supportive parent lets you discover yourself and do what you want and find out what you like and all that without sort of interfering too much. Obviously that's dangerous, you know, don't jump off roofs.
Yeah.
Don't do that, it's not good. But I feel like a lot of the time some parents don't openly do that, and I don't necessarily think it's the parent's fault either. It's a very hard topic to bring up with someone.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of conversation around sexuality that a lot of people struggle to have, because they just don't know how to have that conversation. So to answer your question, I don't necessarily know what it is from school that we could change to help that, but I think there's a little bit of a mentality shift and need for a bit more of an awareness on the issue itself that people who are looking to be parents need to sort of understand, nurture, or help push in that sort of direction as they get to those years. I'm sure everyone's heard of the teenage horror. So
Yeah.
the girls, it's generally between the ages of, say, 13, 14 through till 19, maybe 19, 18, where every mother will tell you that's the worst period for girls, because they're just, I'll put it how my mum delicately puts it, fucking psychotic. That's not my words, so don't come swinging at me. And for a guy, I feel like we sort of have that misbehaving stage for a little bit longer. It starts, even though we do mature later, I feel like that misbehaving stage actually starts a little bit earlier, around maybe 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And it can go on for as long as it takes for us to figure ourselves out. I think understanding that those times for each gender are the time where this sort of thing is important, that self-discovery is important, and not sort of just pushing the child to, you know, a corner and saying, you know, you've misbehaved, sit in a naughty corner. Take the time to, why did you do this? What was your thought process? Maybe, you know, if you wanted to find out what it felt like to jump off a roof, because that's something I used to do. I used to just jump off trees and roofs and stuff because I thought it was fun, but it's a way of, having, I know I've waffled, but long story short, in that age bracket, have those conversations. Talk about how important it is to find and discover yourself and know who you are before you get to the business end of schooling.
Play devil's advocate, that argument. I think it's very hard for, especially in your teens, to talk to your parents. The whole embarrassing mom, embarrassing dad thing. So they come with something such a hard topic as mental health. I feel like I know what it feels like. Very scary.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to. Everyone knows their parents love them, whether hate them or they hate you at some point for being a naughty child or they're just annoying you. But have to know that at the end of the day, they do love you and that, and that should feel comfortable with them. Obviously, if you aren't, that's fine. You know, don't push, especially mental health. Don't push that. Not that trust there, but if you don't feel as safe with, you know, either with your friend or a teacher or something like that, definitely go with your the more safer person you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I feel like that should, I don't say hamper it, but to start the ball rolling with people taking care of themselves.
I knew that comment would come up.
Yeah, you did call it.
Yeah, I did call it. So obviously I know most people won't talk to their parents about this sort of stuff, and that's why I sort of said the onus is a little bit on the parents to be able to promote that conversation.
Yeah.
But as you said, at the same time, it's not an easy conversation for any child to have with their parents. So having that support network of mates who are all generally at that age, your all mates are all the same age, you're all, you know, 16, 17, whatever. How, I'm going to flip it back onto you. So at that age, did you have that sort of friendship group where you had those discussions, or did you feel like you had a friendship group where you could have had those discussions?
I know for looking back on it, 100%, I had the friend group. The main people I hang with in terms of like the boys would call it hang with. I know I can speak to them easily. People know that now, but at the time I didn't, mainly because I've felt my life being a very independent, mature person. Sense of, I'm not saying that my family weren't there for me; they much were. It was just the surroundings I grew up with. They weren't, not so much take it on yourself, but prepared to take things on yourself. But, and also the fact is that the whole I didn't want to be a burden on anyone was the main thing why I didn't speak out as much. And I'm essentially should have spoke out. Yes, I think it's just a burden on people. The whole I'm a, you know, independent. You know, I've matured enough. No one can help me except myself, type thing.
Yeah. Now, this is something that we both would have heard 100%, millions of times. Stuff like, grown men don't cry. You're a man, suck it up, be a man, get over it, deal with it, that sort of bullshit. How much do you think that sort of played on your mind coming through those sort of stages?
That definitely killed me at the time, especially female dominant household throughout my life. So the only father figure or male figure I had was my father, like I said earlier. So people questioning not just me being a man, but my sexuality. I didn't necessarily mind that much. Is more the fact that people weren't listening. They're more telling me what I am when I'm not. If anyone in someone's telling you what you are and you're not clearly that, that can impact you quite a lot. Mental health in terms of, like you said, the men don't speak. That was really annoying.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't necessarily show my emotions at my par's funeral. Because I had to be, you know, the big brother to my sister, the strong son to my mum, and the strong male to my nan and auntie. So that was, yeah, very tough. Still is now. Trying my very hardest to make it not as that, of being able to speak up, not feeling weak or strong-minded. The best thing that helped me was the whole man up, speak up movement that was happening a few years ago.
Yep.
And a TV show. If you haven't seen it, I would strongly recommend watching that. That helped me quite a lot, I feel like.
Ben, if you do know that as well, the Man Up Speak Up movement, you're able to leave a link in the description for that one as well. I'm actually going to get onto some real shit at the moment and go back into a bit of my family.
Yep.
So I'll want to talk more deeply into my father and my family, the fact that all had, and why I felt like I was never able to open up personally,
Yeah.
and why poetry became the only way I felt I could speak. So from the age of, I think it was about 8 or 9, being on holiday in Mornington with my nan, myself, my sister, and my brother. No, sorry, not my brother at the time. Getting a phone call from mum saying she was in hospital, dad's put her in hospital, that sort of stuff. I understand there is no statute of limitation on abuse, so I understand speaking this freely is not a good idea, just because there is no statute of limitation. But I've always been open and honest on this channel, especially about stuff like this. I feel it's the only way to be. So from there, witnessing dad being physically violent. For example, when I was a baby, mum had me in her arm. Dad threw a log of wood at mum, hit her on the leg. She nearly dropped me straight onto the corner of a bench. My head was very close to it. Had she have lost grip, that would have been me gone. As it was, that sort of thing hitting mum's leg did a lot of damage to her. She's still got scars on her head from a toaster being thrown at her, stuff like that. So from the age of about 12, I had to become the man of the house. And to take on a responsibility like that at 12 meant I had no childhood. And it also feeds into a little bit of why I was a prick at school, is because I never had a childhood. Well, being a kid was something I could only do at school, because I couldn't do that at home, because home was serious. My roles were completely flipped. Normally kids just do whatever they want at home, and school's when they're serious. For me, school was the only escape I had to be a kid again. So I also understand that played into why I was a prick at school a fair bit, but it was when you take on a role like that, sort of take it on yourself to be there for everyone else. The man of the house is cliche, but is generally the dad, and they're the ones that help everything when shit goes pear-shaped. They're there for your brother and your sister and yourself and your mother and everything like that. The amount of times I had to call the police for mum because she didn't have the strength to, even at 14, 15, calling the police on my own dad just for our own safety, or having to break up mum and dad in a fight, or just when my sister ran away one day, mum absolutely in tears. She had no one else to turn to but me. So I took it on myself, knowing mum wasn't handling well, to do everything and contact police and try and find her and ring all her friends and do all that sort of stuff. When you have to do all that sort of stuff, you don't feel like you have anyone to turn to yourself. And it made it very hard to know how to talk, because you got so used to people talking to you and telling you things and being there for people, that when it was time for you to open up, and I've written a few poems about this, it was a bit of a feeling of, when's it my turn to say I'm not okay? When's it my turn to be upset? You know, can I have a turn to be upset, or do I just have to pretend like everything's okay? And I don't want anyone else to sort of go through the same sort of thing and not feel like they're allowed to speak up. The one thing I learned through all of that, no matter how much shit is going on, you still have someone to turn to. I should have used my mum, not used my mum, but I should have turned to mum the same way she could turn to me. Spoken to her about things, because we had that relationship where we could. I should have told my mates at school what was going on. No one at school ever knew. One was out of fear of dad finding out that I was saying all this sort of stuff about him. The other was out of fear of how people would look at me and how people would judge me for all that sort of stuff. And you know, kids at that age are fucking horrible. They'll make jokes about anything they can. I think fear of people finding out about that sort of stuff stopped me from speaking to it. But my takeaway message is, even if you do find yourself in that position, there are still people you can turn to, and do need to tell people what's going on. Otherwise, it just keeps building up, and you'll find yourself, as I did a few times, at the end of the rope. I don't know if I've ever actually admitted that on the channel before, but I have found myself on the end of the rope a few times. Once it snapped, once I've ended up in resus. How it is.
Leave a minute, are we? We're going to talk about the times we decided enough's enough.
If you're open and free enough to do that,
No,
go ahead.
I only know that much about you, that part, so thank you. Okay, now. Since talking about the times we thought, fuck it. I had a few times I really thought, fuck it. I think the first one was year 10, year 11, after having back pains in the nerve pains in the back, the variables, or fuck it, whole box of Livicar, like codeine. Yeah, it's like the second strongest they can get off the shelf. Yeah, felt numb and all that stuff. As I woke up, then when my pa died, had the old 2-month bender of just alcohol, party drugs, see how far I can go.
I think, yeah, where the coke became a problem for me.
Yeah.
Right. The reason that Izaak and I are speaking so freely, and the reason we wanted to speak so freely, because we want to help everyone see that it's okay to own up to shit like this. It's okay to man up. It's okay to speak up. There is a network around this channel that I've taken the best part of 3 years to help create, along with you guys, where this is one of the safest places on the internet. The internet is a fucked place, but I, hand on heart, can say this is one of the safest places on the internet. Support beside myself with Izaak, behind the camera with Ben, Josh, everything like that. We are all a group of mates, and we have all connected through these kind of conversations of being there for each other. And I think the point of us doing this on camera is to show that why can't this happen for every friendship group? Why can't everyone have the same sort of network around them? Even if you don't, use this network, use the people in here, use myself. I've always had an open phone. I'm not going to give my phone number out on the internet, but you've got my socials.
I'll send it your phone to your phone.
Alright, if you donate $5 to the OnlyFans. Actually, let's check that a sec. But the key point is, use the networks you've got around you. If it's only one good mate you feel like you can talk to them, open up to them. You'd be amazed at how much better you feel and how much stronger that bond grows between you when you can have conversations like that. I still want to punch him.
Don't blame him, to be fair.
No reaction, just
I want to punch myself when I say something, it's all good. But yeah, just talk.
Yeah.
Regardless of how it starts, regardless of how it ends, say something. Let it out. Don't bottle it up.
Yeah. If you don't feel comfortable, the best day to do it is, are you okay day? If that day is near and you don't know how to start a conversation, that is the best way to do it. Are you okay? No one, I know as Australians we're very, very good at going, yeah, right, how are you?
Yeah.
I think everyone does that regardless of how they're feeling.
Yeah.
But own it. Take it on yourself to not do that. If someone asks, are you okay, and you trust them enough to talk to them about shit, own up to it. There's nothing wrong with just owning up to how you actually feel, because it's going to help you feel so much better in the long run. Right. Do we have any other points of conversation you wanted to get through?
One more.
One
Since
more?
we're on the topic of opening up. Like I said before, I've been struggling with mental health.
Close your legs, brother.
For the past 6 months, I've been trying to open up more to my friends and things like that stuff. Why not start now? This was something that I wrote months ago. There's no structure to it, but we'll see how it goes.
No, we'll go one for one.
Yep. Honesty hour. Dear or 2019 was shit. Nothing really achievable occurred in my life. And since I'm being honest, I found that my hatred for myself grew a lot bigger. I also find that I'm the biggest shit talker and one of the fakest dickheads out there. Most mornings I wake up with the first thought of, hey, you chose not to die in your sleep again. From the words of CJ, shit, go again. A reference to my life. Yet, I think the worst is when I wake up, sit on the edge of my bed before doing life, and after collecting my many thoughts that yell, scream, echo, or even worse, whisper in my head, I turn to my two-pack poster and ask, what the fuck are you looking at? Going to sleep is even better, with thoughts such as, let's see how I can kill myself this time. Dreams? Here's hoping I'll die tomorrow. Also, just a side note, not surprisingly, but drugs and alcohol really don't help. Really don't help when fighting demons. Much like physical pain, drugs and alcohol only numb emotional pain early. Yes, I have taken drugs a fair amount last year, more than I have had a drink of alcohol. Also hurt a few people and broken a lot of promises, ones I've proudly kept previously. I'll probably say this by now in a well-worded Tumblr post. My hands trying to type as fast as my brain rushes over everything, incredible detail and memory. In other words, there's no order in this. I talk so much shit this year. Yeah, I'm doing this. Yeah, I've done that. Or this is what I'm going to do. No, you're not doing this. No, you're not going to do that, Izaak. I faked so many things in 2019. Happiness being one of them, along with my crooked smile, I faked being a good person. I was a good person in general. But among all the fakeness, there was a silver lining. Hatred for myself, very real. I hated my body, my smile, my jaw, my hair. Domesticity, my life, I hated it all. Essentially, the best way to describe how I felt was with Grace's Afterlife on Netflix. I see a lot of myself in that character, but why this should be different? Oh, I also hated my brain for constantly thinking about everything, whether it's about this party on the weekend, the world, or the bullshit politics that go with it. I mean, what everyone's thought about me, the random seeking 3 rows down. What does he think or see about me? Is this person really a friend or someone who likes my company? I hate how fast I think. It's hard to turn it off and not worry about things. That's why I always watch so many videos on useless facts. Like, did you know, right, that the DAS mats on a car are only an Australian thing? With our hot sun, so the dash doesn't crack. Slow my brain down. It sure doesn't help when I have a fucking lisp and try to speak at the same pace as my brain. Anyway, why is this year any different? If I don't change this year, I can always guarantee this will be my last. I have a lot planned for this year, so I won't be active on social media for a few. Think you'll need me during that time? Hit me up with my number. If anyone has a birthday during the next few weeks, happy birthday. Hope you have a good one. I try to say happy birthday to everyone on Facebook, regardless of relationship. I believe everyone needs a day where it's just all about them, at least once a year. Let's be honest, you're secretly loving people. For my artist friends, if you have any songs, projects that at least enjoy, DM them to me and I'll check them out. Point out, this isn't me making excuses or anything. Sounds like that, I don't tend to. I need to be honest, not only with myself but everyone I care about. Me showing you my hand, putting pain and problems on the table before I do myself a better hand. There are a few more posts for me before I take a social media leave, so if you did read all this, thank you. Sorry, I'm really trying though. Make you proud to call me your friend one day, I promise. Until then, know you love me and I love you too. Catch you all. Bye. So yeah, gonna take a social media break because social media is a pain in the ass. I'll try and keep in touch with everyone. Yeah.
Damn! Alright. I'll do you a solid and I'll go one back. So this is actually one I showed you yesterday.
Yep.
True power comes when you realize the power you hold over your own life. The second either side can mean the difference between life and the other side. For upon reflection, it is seen that no deed goes unpaid, and for life is the most precious of commodities. Life it is that pays the final debt. I write in metaphors because it's easier than trying to find the words to explain how I feel. So I let metaphors fill the gaps that I cannot bear to fill myself. From the moment we are born, we are forever doing our own deed as we know it to be. For some, the deed is short, but to change many lives while you can. It is for that reason my deed is done. I'm a smart man with a simple mind. Seeing things for what they are can sometimes be a gift, but I wear it as a curse around my neck. So I can tell people things they feel before they feel them. I can understand things they see in their mind before they can see it themselves. But it is for that reason people sleep easily while I lay awake beating their struggles.
Damn!
I think what we will do is we'll
That's the best thing to do.
wrong note. Izaak, absolute. There we go. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have any final farewell words?
You'll see me sooner or later, maybe on this channel, on my own channels. At the last time you hear about Izaak Wood.
Alright guys, before we go, one final message from both of us is to make sure you reach out to your friends, make sure they are okay, and if you do need help, reach out to someone near you. It's been an absolute pleasure to do a live stream podcast for you. Hopefully you've taken something away from this video. If you have, make sure you leave a like and let us know in the comments below what you took out of this video, what it is that we might have helped you through, or what your thoughts are on what we've said. I know we've covered a lot of stuff and quite a lot of it has been quite greasy. But hopefully, if you have, I thank you for sticking. Peace, and we're out.